You're listening to Cool FM. Cool FM is a TVH Group of Networks radio station. Tondo's greatest hits are here. You are listening to Cool FM. Live from Cool Studios. This is Cool News at 11.
All right. Good morning and welcome to Cool News at 11. Headline inflation in June moved at its lowest in 4 months with slower increases in housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels and transport items, the Philippine Statistics Authority said on Friday. Preliminary data from the agency showed the consumer price index grew by 3.7% year-on-year in June, easing from the 3.9% in May and 5.4% in the same period last year. This is within the 3.4 to 4.2% forecast of the Bangko Sentro ng Pilipinas for the month. However, it was slightly below the 3.9% average inflation forecast in an inquiry poll of 10 economists conducted last week. Inflation print in June marked the slowest growth in 4 months or since the 3.4% lock in February. This also marked the 7th straight month that inflation settled with the BSP's 2 to 4% target range for the year. For the first 6 months, inflation averaged 3.5%, still lower from the 7.2% in June 2023. The Department of Agriculture is rolling out on Friday, which is today, a program that offers rice at only 29 pesos per kilo in select Kadiwa stores in Metro Manila and neighboring Bulacan province. But the rice will be sold not to the general public but to vulnerable segments of the population, senior citizens, single parents, persons with disabilities, and beneficiaries of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, also known as 4Ps, the government's conditional cash transfer scheme for the poor. For its trial run, Program 29 will be conducted every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the next 6 months, the DA said. It will be simultaneously launched today at the Bureau of Animal Industry and National Irrigation Administration in Quezon City, Bureau of Plant Industry in Manila, Food Terminal Incorporated in Taguig City, Philippine Fiber Industry Development Authority in Las Piñas, Kadiwa Centers in Caloocan City and Valenzuela City, Barangay Fortune and BF City in Marikina City, and San Jose del Monte City in Bulacan. The goal is to make discounted rice available to about 6.9 million low-income households, which account for about 35 million Filipinos, according to the DA. Each beneficiary may buy only up to 10 kilos of rice per household per month, Agriculture Assistant Secretary Genevieve Villacaria Guevara said at the press briefing on Thursday. A booklet will later be provided to the beneficiaries in August to monitor their purchase, she added. They are required to present their IDs and encouraged to bring reusable containers or bags for the rice. Based on DA estimates, Program 29 will require about 69,000 metric tons of rice during the trial period. The supply will be sourced from the aging stocks of the National Food Authority, NFA, the contract growing project of the NIA, and the port shipments managed by DA-affiliated entities. Aging NFA stocks refer to rice that have been in storage for 3 months or rely on husk rice stockpiles that have been kept for 6 months. The DA hopes to use the trial period to gather comprehensive data on the supply and logistics needed for a nationwide implementation of Program 29, Villacaria Guevara added. Meanwhile, Leonard Abella, who age of 53, has been farming rice for decades, but his toiling has yet to pay off as he remains buried in debt. He barely earns any profit from tilling the land. Whatever he spends is spent immediately to pay off his loans and buy necessities for his small-scale farm in Rosales, Pangasinan, such as water, seeds, and pesticides. The income is low, not even enough for food. We are farmers and yet we have almost nothing to eat, he said in an interview. With the new comprehensive trip program reducing the impose of on rice and other products from 25% to 15%, farmers such as Abela are concerned that consumers will opt for cheaper imported rice over local produce. In the bid to stop the government from implementing Executive Order number 62 issued by President Marcos on June 20, Abela joined up various agricultural and farmers groups on Thursday in filing a petition for certiorari and prohibition before the Supreme Court. The petitioners are Sambahang Industriya ng Agricultural Incorporated, Federation of Free Farmers Incorporated, United Boiler Racers Association Incorporated, Soro Ibaba Development Cooperative, and lawyer Argel Gababat of Magsasaka Partidas. While the High Tribunal deliberates the petition, the groups appeal for an urgent status quo ante order or a temporary restraining order on the policy. Named respondents in the case are President Marcos, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin, Secretary Arsenio Balistacan of the National Economic and Development Authority, and Trip Commission Chair Malio Mendoza. The Department of Agriculture, however, warned that deferring the implementation of reduced import duties on various products such as rice would delay the expected reduction in retail prices of these goods. Government and private economists earlier noted that the persistently high prices of foods such as rice and meat have been contributing to the elevated inflation rate nationwide. In general, if the Supreme Court asks or grants the temporary restraining order, it is not good for our rice stocks because it will delay importation efforts of our private importers, Agricultural Assistant Secretary Arnab de Mesa said in a briefing on Thursday. De Mesa, the DA spokesperson, explained that rice traders might hesitate to bring in imported rice due to the confusion over trade rates. And of course, if the request for a TRO is granted, the potential decrease in rice price in the markets will also be delayed, he added. De Mesa said rice demand in the international market was declining and global prices were expected to further ease once India lifts its export ban on the commodity. In their 27-page petition, the groups asked the High Tribunal to declare EO 62 as null, void, and unconstitutional, saying that it was hastily issued and violated the requirement of the Customs Modernization and Thrift Act to conduct an investigation and public hearings on the matter. Under the flexible clause of the CMTA or Republic Act No. 10863, the Thrift Commission is required to investigate and hold public hearings to afford interested parties a reasonable opportunity to be heard before any recommendation is submitted to the President by NEDA. Prior to the issuance of EO 62, the petitioner said EO 10 already lowered the thrift for corn imports to 5%, while pork shipments were charged 50% and rice 35%. Similar executive orders that temporarily reduced the thrift on rice, corn, and meat products underwent the mandated consultations, investigation, and hearing, the petitioner said. As a matter of fact, the hearing petitioners were duly notified and have actively attended and participated in the investigations held prior to the issuance of the said EOs, it said. However, the group said no such consultation or hearing was ever held specifically on the reduction in the thrift of rice and other agricultural produce under EO 62. They argued that the mandated process was a limitation set by the law before the president could validly issue an executive order. Aside from allegedly skimming the procedural requirement, legal counsel Virginia Soares said the petition was also filed because it violated the state policy under Article 12, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution to develop a self-reliant and independent national economy. Lowering tariffs on products, specifically staple foods like corn, rice, and corn, poses significant challenges for local farmers. Lower tariffs can lead to an influx of cheaper imported goods, undermining domestic producers and farmers' sales and products, the petitioners said in their filing. This is clearly detrimental to the farmers who may struggle to compete with the lower prices of imported products, they added. Soares added that the policy violated the constitutional mandate to protect farmers from unfair competition and trade practices as stated under Article 13, Section 5 of the Constitution. This is a total sellout to our farmers. It's like you depend on imported products for all our food. That's wrong, she said. In a statement released hours after the filing of the petition, Netas Balisacan acknowledged the decision of the farmers group to pursue legal action against the implementation of EO 62. We are currently awaiting the receipt of the petition and wish to express our uttermost respect for the legal process, he said, adding that NEDA would respond to the petition in due time. Incoming Education Secretary guard, though Sonny Angara said on Thursday that improving the benefits of teachers would be among his priorities as he vowed to look into proposals seeking to increase their salaries. Angara added of the teachers. I am confident that under the Marcos administration, there will be an increase in our teacher salaries. I'm just not sure if it will be this year or next year, but there will be an increase, he said in a radio interview. In February, the combined bloc in the House of Representatives filed House Bill number 9920, which seeks to raise the minimum monthly salary for teachers up to 50,000 pesos. The lawmakers said they hope to close the gap between teacher salaries and the cost of living, as well as to address the distortion created by the doubling of the entry-level pay of military and uniformed personnel. Angara said he would study the proposal in coordination with other agencies like the Department of Finance and the Department of Budget and Management. We are 100% in support of all these increases for teachers because we know that the quality of education is affected when the teachers are really inspired. And we also get to attract the best and the brightest, he said. Angara pointed out that he had been pushing for a hike in wages for government employees, especially when I was part of the Senate Committee on Finance. Still to come, Philippine-Japan troop access pact for signing takes place on July 8th. And AFP wants China to pay 60 million pesos for June 17 attack. That's coming up next. Welcome back. The Philippines and Japan are expected to sign on Monday, July 8th, a historic pact that would allow the two allies and former wartime enemies to deploy troops on each other's soil. After 7 months of negotiations, top diplomatic and defense officials from the two countries will meet in Manila on July 8 for the 2+2 meeting, a venue to discuss bilateral defense and security issues affecting the region, and the signing of the Reciprocal Access Agreement. Foreign Secretary Enrique Manalo and Defense Secretary Gilberto Jr. will lead the high-level meeting with their counterparts, Japanese Minister for Foreign Affairs Yoko Kamikawa and Defense Minister Minoru Kihara. We are hoping that during the meeting, the RAA or the Reciprocal Access Agreement will be signed, Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief General Romel Brano Jr. said at a press briefing at Camp Aguinaldo on Thursday following a conference with President Marcos. Early this week, the Department of Foreign Affairs described the 2+2 meeting as the highest consultative mechanism between the Philippines and Japan to date. The Philippines and Japan began the formal round of negotiations for the RAA after Marcos and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida agreed to start official talks on the visiting forces deal in the face of Beijing's growing aggression in the South China Sea. RAA is supported because it will allow Japanese troops to come into our country to conduct training with us. It will also allow our troops to go to Japan to train with them, Brunner said. The Philippines has existing visiting forces agreements with the United States and Australia, while Japan has a similar deal with the United Kingdom and Australia. Japan formalized an RAA with the United Kingdom after 5 years of negotiations, while it took 7 years of formal talks with Australia to sign the deal. During his meeting with Kishida in Malacanang in November last year, Marcos said the RAA with Japan would help maintain peace and security in the region. We are cognizant of the benefits of having this arrangement both to our defense and military personnel to maintain peace and security in our region, Marcos said. Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad, the Philippine Navy spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, said the RAA would be a landmark deal for Japan and the Philippines. This will be a very historic activity, considering that the international community now understands a broad united front has to be put in place in order to check any attempts to disrupt the rules-based international order, he told reporters on Tuesday. Both Manila and Tokyo have maritime disputes with Beijing in the South China Sea, a strategic waterway where more than $3 trillion of trade passes each year. The Philippine military won 60 million pesos in damages from China following the June 17 attack at Ayungin Sakatama Shoal, where the Chinese Coast Guard wounded a Filipino sailor, confiscated firearms, and destroyed naval equipment. Armed Forces of the Philippines Chief General Romel Brano Jr. on Thursday said he had written to Defense Secretary Gilberto Jr. about the AFP's demand so that it could be forwarded to the Department of Foreign Affairs for them to reach out to their counterparts in China. They destroyed our equipment, and when we estimated the cost of the damage, it's 60 million pesos, Brother said at a press briefing in Camp Aguinaldo following a conference with President Marcos. He did not provide a breakdown of the amount of compensation the military sought from the Chinese. One of the expenses that may have to be confiscated includes the surgery on SN1 Jeffrey Van Kundo, who lost his right thumb during the attack. We are also looking into the possibility of charging them with the cost of restructuring the hand of SN1 of Fundo because he will go under surgery to restore the function of his hand, Brunner said. Fagundo, a member of the Naval Special Operations Group, was on one of the Philippine Navy's frigate-hull inflatable boats carrying supplies to men on the BRB Sierra Madre, the military outpost on Ayungin Shoal. The boat was repeatedly rammed by a similar vessel of the China Coast Guard, severing his right thumb. Brunner said that a new medical technology would allow him to fully use his right hand again. On June 17, the CCG personnel, wielding bolos, spears, and knives to train Filipino troops, used high-pitched sirens and high-powered strobe lights to disrupt the resupply mission to the Sierra Madre. The Chinese boarded the Navy boats, smashed their navigational equipment, and seized several high-powered firearms which had been disassembled and packed. At least one of the Philippine boats was slashed and punctured, rendering it immobile. According to Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad, the Navy spokesperson on the West Philippine Sea, China has not returned the firearms. Trinidad said the demand for the return of the firearms had been sent to China through the responsible government agencies. We are awaiting feedback from the Chinese, he told reporters. The Philippines and its international allies have condemned the attack as barbaric and a violation of international law. In the same press briefing, Brothers said the military already informed Mr. Marcos about what could be done for the next resupply mission to Sierra Madre. We have presented to our president several options that the AFP will be doing, not just in terms of performing our rotation and resupply missions, but including the other operations in the West Philippine Sea, he said without elaborating. The June 17 attack on the Navy resupply mission was the most violent since the CCG in recent months upscaled its blockade of the Sierra Madre and again with high-powered water cannons and dangerous vessels maneuvers, according to the military. The Philippines side has not responded in kind. Instead, it openly shows to the rest of the world on various social media platforms the pictures and videos of the actions taken against Filipinos delivering food and other essential necessities to the troops manning the Sierra Madre, a deep repeat and rusted warship grounded on the shore. Beijing spokespersons typically respond by blaming such incidents on Filipinos, who they say have illegally entered the waters around Ayungin, over which they claim China had indisputable sovereignty and sovereign rights. China and its supporters also portray the Philippines as a U.S. vassal stirring up trouble in the South China Sea. Beijing continues to reject a July 2012 ruling by an international art bureau tribunal that invalidated its expensive claims to the South China Sea and upheld the Philippines' sovereign right to its 370-kilometer exclusive economic zone, including Ayungin. The Alliance of Health Workers raised this concern on Friday as it questioned the timing of President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s directive to fully release the unpaid COVID-19 health emergency allowance for all health workers. Why is it only now if there was funding available all along? AHW National President Robert Mendoza pointed out that Marcos' directive's timing perfectly aligns with the upcoming State of the Nation address, SONA, where the president will outline his accomplishments. The timing of the release of long overdue benefits is very timely to the upcoming SONA by the president. Is it because the administration just wants to showcase his accomplishments rather than addressing the urgent needs of health workers? Mendoza said in a statement. Despite questioning the timing of Marcos' directive, Mendoza said he is still hoping that all health workers in private and local government union hospitals and health facilities will be paid their much-deserved HEA. Because during our dialogue with Budget and Management Secretary Bangka Daman last April 11, 2024, the Department of Health has not yet complied with the final list and mapping of paid and unpaid health workers of their COVID-19 allowance, he said. Still, Mendoza believes that releasing the HEA is a significant victory for health workers who served the country during the COVID-19 pandemic. According to Mendoza, health workers will join the People's SONA on July 22. He said the event will be a platform for them to convey their demands to the Marcos administration. And several members of the House of Representatives aired constructing opinions on Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez's recent statements about Philippine offshore gaming operators known as POGOs, with one supporting his suggestions of regulating the industry rather than totally banning it. In the statement on Thursday night, Alpine 2nd District Representative Joey Salceda said he agrees with Romualdez that a total ban on POGOs will be detrimental. This will affect legal POGOs, which have been tipping the government about non-compliant operators. The government should not introduce a POGO ban. Period. It will kill any inducement to good behavior in that sector. It will also completely wipe out the incentive for legally compliant licensees to tip off illegal operations of non-compliant competitors, Salceda said. In the tobacco sector, a lot of tips on smuggling and illicit trade come from the tax-compliant companies. The same is true for POGO. It's a bad idea to even contemplate a total ban, he added. Salceda also echoed Romualdez's fears that POGO operators may go underground if a ban is imposed, making the company more prone to illegal activities. Even if you ban POGO completely, you will continue to face the kind of problems that cause any illegal foreign operations of any kind here, porous immigration, poorly equipped intelligence and infiltration capabilities, law enforcement does not speak Chinese. The problem was never mainly the Pogor or Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, Rigamim, or the tax enforcement, he said. In an interview with Teleradio on Wednesday, Romy Altes said he is okay with a crackdown on illegal pogos, as those engaging in illicit and unlawful activities must be banned from operating in the country. However, he said a total ban on pogos might only lead to these businesses moving underground, which means the government can neither monitor these companies nor demand taxes from them. And that will be it for Cool News at 11 a.m. As always, you can send a news tip to us at tvh.philippines.news@gmail.com. And we will have our headlines again later with Cool News at noon at 12 noon. Until then, I am Aspir, and this has been Cool News at 11. Good morning.